Hello, and welcome to the NJ Life and Health video on how to use Medicare.gov. This is a tool that we are providing for you in order to understand the cost of your current drugs under your current drug plan, or to take a look at a new drug plan if your current plan is no longer meeting your needs. Please grab a list of your prescriptions and let's get started. So our first step here is to open up your web browser, and let's go ahead and head to Medicare.gov by typing it into our search bar. As we arrive at Medicare.gov, we're here on the home page. We're going to be taking a look for the Find Plans button so we can compare drug plans for either this year or the year coming up. So if we take a scroll down just a little bit, we're going to see the Find Plans button in the bottom right corner, notated by a shopping bag. Go ahead and click that Find Plans button. It's going to take us to a page which is going to prompt us to either log in or create an account or continue without logging in. For the purpose of this video, we're going to continue without logging in. If you do want to log in or create an account, go ahead and do so, and you'll be taken to the following page once you finish that process. So once I click the Continue Without Logging In button, they're going to ask us to answer a few questions to find out what type of coverage we are looking for. For the purpose of this video, we're going to select Drug Plan, or Part D. Now, once I select the Part D button, it's going to prompt me to enter my zip code. Please go ahead and enter your zip code, and then hit the green Continue button. Upon doing that, they're going to list out one more set of questions, which asks, do we get help with our drug costs from any of these programs? Unless you are getting help from extra help through a Social Security program, please hit the I do not get help from any of these programs button so it does not alter the drug costs. Then go ahead and hit the green Next button. After that, they're going to ask if we want to see our drug costs when we compare plans. That is the purpose of this video, so we're going to go ahead and say yes. After you've selected yes, please hit the Next button. You should now see a search bar where it asks you to add your prescription drugs. Now, before we go any further, if you don't have them already, please grab your medications and have them in front of you. It is important that we be as specific as possible when typing in these medications so that we make no mistakes. Any small mistake, like forgetting an extended release on the end of a medication, or spelling it wrong and finding a medication that's just close enough to the name, is going to result in a huge difference in cost when we get to our final evaluation. So my recommendation, again, is if you don't have them in front of you already, please go ahead and get your prescription drugs so that you have these names right in front of you while we run through this. Now, our first step will be to click the search bar where it says begin typing to find and select your drug. For an example here, I'm going to start typing in the drug atorvastatin, which is the generic of Lipitor. As I begin to type that in, we're going to see a couple options come up below where we can select the drug that we're looking for. And here I see the drug that I was attempting to type, atorvastatin. Upon clicking this drug, it will fill itself into the search bar and allow me to hit the green Add Drug button. Once I go ahead and do that, it's going to ask for a bit more information on that medication. Here we have the dosage, which you can go ahead and alter based on the dosage that you're taking. And then most importantly, we have the quantity and the frequency, how many and how often. One of our biggest tips for you here is to leave the quantities monthly. Even if you fill them at a 3-month shot or anything like that, go ahead to leave the quantity monthly. This way, sometimes the math is not completely correct if you start altering the frequency, and that may again affect our final evaluation. So once you have the quantity and the frequency put together, go ahead and hit the green Add to My Drug List button. And now we'll have a drug list generated where we see the atorvastatin that I've added at a quantity of 30 every month. If you only take one medication, then you can go ahead and hit Done Adding Drugs. Otherwise, you can hit the white Add Another Drug button to continue to add in some medications. What I'm going to do is show you first a cool trick here that Medicare.gov has set up for you. If for some reason you only know the brand name of your medication, as I begin to type in a brand name drug like Lipitor and I select it, upon hitting Add Drug, it's going to ask me if I'd like to use the generic, atorvastatin. And I'll have the choice here to add the generic or add the brand name instead if I'm positive that I'm taking the brand name. So as I go ahead and hit Add Generic, I'll see that both the atorvastatins are listed out here, and I'm going to remove the bottom one as that was just an example. So as I add another drug here, I'm going to type in just a few more medications to add in, and then we'll move on to our final evaluation. I'm going to add in a common blood pressure medication like lisinopril. And I'll basically leave it at that, besides one more tip. If at some point you're typing in a medication or typing in something that you fill at the pharmacy and it doesn't show up, either you may be spelling it wrong and you want to double check the bottle or the prescription, or it may not be covered by Medicare drug plans. For example, if I attempt to type in test strips, like my diabetic test strips for testing my blood sugar, it's not going to come up here in the search bar. And if it doesn't come up in the search bar, I'm not able to add the drug. It's just going to go gray on me. So in general, if the medication you're typing in does not show up, one, make sure you're typing it incorrectly. And two, if it does not show up at all, well, you may have to check the plan-specific formulary to see if it is covered or not. So as I am finished adding my drugs here, I'm going to hit the green Done Adding Drugs button, and that'll take me onto the pharmacy page. Now that we've arrived at the Choose Your Pharmacy page, we're going to go ahead and select a few pharmacies to add in so we can see our drug costs relative to those pharmacies. A bit of advice that we have for you here is not only should you select mail order pharmacy, but you should select the pharmacy that you prefer, as well as a couple other local pharmacies in your area. The reason being is that each drug plan does work with different pharmacies, and those pharmacies that are preferred with certain drug plans are going to result in those lowest costs. If you only select the pharmacy that you use, you may miss out on seeing some of those savings that exist in other plans at other pharmacies. So oftentimes we like to enter in mail order, some of the big guys like Walgreens and CVS, maybe Walmart, and then we'll go from there so we can see what plans appear. Once I've selected my pharmacies, I'm going to go ahead and hit the white Done button in the bottom corner, and that'll take me out to a list of plans. Once we've selected our pharmacies and hit Done, we'll now be presented with a page of all the medication plans or Part D drug plans in your area. Now, before we start to evaluate these plans, we just want to make sure that they're sorted correctly. Confirm that in the upper right-hand corner, where you see the term Sort Plans By, that your plans are being sorted by lowest drug plus premium cost. This way we make sure we're seeing the plans in order by cost of not only the premium, but in cost of the annual price of your drugs. And once we see that they're sorted in this way, lowest drug and premium cost, we can begin to evaluate the different plans. Now, the first thing we'll see as we take a look at this page of plans is that these plans are listed out in order based on the annual retail and premium cost, which is listed out here towards the bottom of each plan's information. As I take a look down and go past this first plan, which is labeled SilverScript Smart RX, and head down to the next of WellCare Value Script, we can see that that retail cost, which is listed here at first at $109, slightly increases to $145. And as we continue down, we're going to see that cost continue to increase, meaning the further down the list we go, the more expensive that drug plan will be for you and your set of medications for the year. So one of the first bits of advice that we usually look at is we want to stick towards the bottom of the list. The lower the cost of the plan is, the better it may serve you throughout the year, cost-wise. So one of the first things we want to do here is not just jump into the lowest cost plan, but find the plan that you have currently so we can see how that's going to play out for this year coming up, or how that's playing out with the medications that we've entered in. So for example, say that you have the WellCare Value Script. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the WellCare Value Script, take a look at the generic benefits, and then we'll dive in a moment to the plan details. Here on the front page, what we're able to determine is the name of the plan, the star rating, the monthly premium, and then the drug deductible, as well as the cost for the year. And after we've looked over these basics, we can go ahead and head into plan details by clicking the blue button. Once I get into the plan details, again at the top, we'll see the name of the plan. And then on the big bold blue bar here, we'll see the basics, what we're going to pay in monthly premium, and then what we're going to pay in drug costs for the course of the year. To determine where this information comes from or what you're paying drug costs and how they determine that, we're going to go a bit further down this page to see that information. As I begin to scroll down, they're again going to reiterate the monthly premium, and they're going to show us the drug deductible, $480. Now keep in mind that each plan has different rules for the drug deductible, and this may or may not apply to some of the basic generics that we've typed in. So as we continue down, the first thing they're going to show us is our drug coverage based on the pharmacies. And they're going to let us know whether our pharmacies are preferred or standard. Preferred pharmacies are the ones that hold the lowest cost in each plan, whereas standard pharmacies have the right to charge a higher price. So always be wary of the standard pharmacy pricing. Stick near the preferred if you can. So as we continue to scroll down here, they're going to give us an estimate of each of our drugs and what that yearly cost looks like at the pharmacy. Here we're going to go ahead and see that for a drug like atorvastatin, we have $0 at CVS, whereas we have $72 at Walmart. And that's one of our first differences we see here versus a preferred and a standard pharmacy. The preferred pharmacy has a better price. As we continue down, we're going to see that same thing listed out in a different way. Here they're going to show us the yearly drug cost based on each pharmacy. And again, we're going to see that CVS, which is preferred in this plan, has a lower drug cost than Walmart, which is listed as standard. So let's continue down and get to the bulk of our information and where we're going to find that. If we head on down past the monthly costs, we're going to go ahead and see the estimated drug cost during coverage phases. And we're going to see each of the pharmacies that we've chosen. Go ahead and select the pharmacy that you prefer. Here we'll use CVS as an example. And by clicking that bar, it's going to go ahead and give us a drop down of all of the medications that we entered. And it's going to show us the price of those medications throughout the different drug plan coverage phases. Now here, using atorvastatin as an example, we can see that the retail cost to the company is 96 cents and that our cost before or after the deductible is $0. What that means is that this is a medication with a $0 copay and that it is not affected by the deductible because the price is the same before and after. If I head down to our next medication, folic acid, I see a notation of a 1 in parentheses, and any numbers notated next to the drug will be defined at the bottom of this evaluation. And here we see that it says this plan does not cover this drug. The price shown is the full cash price. So what that means, as you can see here, is that if the retail cost is $3.22 and this drug is not covered, well, we will be paying the full retail cost of $3.22. Luckily here, folic acid is a lower cost medication. But if you find that you're taking a medication that is very expensive and not covered, you may want to steer towards another plan or steer towards an alternative medication. So our next drug, lisinopril, we see has a retail cost of 66 cents. And again, the cost before deductible is $0, meaning we do have a $0 tier 1 medication here. On these next phases here, we see cost after deductible, cost in the coverage gap, and cost after the coverage gap. These are our 4 stages of Medicare drug coverage. The first being deductible, the second being the initial coverage phase after deductible, the third being the donut hole or the coverage gap, and the fourth being the catastrophic or after the coverage gap. And as we can see here, although our basic generics are $0 before and after the deductible, in the coverage gap, they go up to 24 cents. Reason being is that this coverage gap or donut hole does require 25% cost sharing. Once you leave that donut hole, it does go to a 5% cost sharing or $3.95 for generics or $9.85 for brand name. Here, because the price is lower than both of those numbers, we get to stick with the retail price of 96 cents. So as we continue down here, we're going to go through some of the view more drug coverage so that we can take a look at the more benefit specifics of this actual drug plan. Once we've taken a detailed look at the cost of our medications within a certain plan, we're going to recommend going to the bottom of that drug evaluation, and you'll see a blue bar that says View More Drug Coverage. We're going to click this bar to get a generic summary of benefits about the plan. Now, once I hit the blue Get More Benefits Information bar, what I'm going to see is that they're going to list out the tiers of our medications and the price associated with them based on what pharmacy we're in. Here we've got the option for preferred retail, standard, and then the same thing for 3-month fills. So here we'll start with the preferred pharmacy at a 1-month fill. And what I'll see is our tiers listed out on the left-hand side. Tier 1, preferred generic. Tier 2, generic. Tier 3, brand name. Tier 4, non-preferred drug. And Tier 5, specialty. And I'm going to see the cost associated with that during the initial coverage phase after the deductible has been met or if the deductible does not have to be met. Here, next to that, we're going to see our gap coverage phase, which is our donut hole and the cost associated, 25% down the board, and then our catastrophic coverage phase, which would come after the donut hole. Here, for example, we see that the preferred generics have a $0 copay. The generics have a $4 copay, brand names $42, non-preferred drugs 47%, and the specialties 25%. As we continue down past the basic prices and tier structures, we can then see our drugs that we've entered in and what tier that they are, so we know the corresponding cost. Here we see that atorvastatin is tier 1, folic acid, as we determined, is non-covered, and the lisinopril is also tier 1. Next to that, they're going to let us know if there's any restrictions or requirements on that medication. Here we see prior authorization, nothing listed. Quantity limits, meaning there's a limit on how many drugs you can fill each month, and it says yes next to atorvastatin. What that means is that there'll be a limit on how many of these drugs you can fill each month so that they're not being overfilled. Lastly, we see step therapy, none of which are required here, but may require you to try a lower cost or a lower tier medication before working your way up to this certain medication. As we continue down, we're going to see the information we entered, our quantity and our frequency, making sure that that's correct here in the system. And at the very bottom, we're going to see the final bit of information, which states chemotherapy and other Part B drugs are not covered. The reason being is that these are covered by Part B of your Medicare, your medical coverage. So once we've taken an in-depth look at the benefits within the plan, we understand what our drugs are going to cost, go ahead and scroll back to the very top of this page, and we can hit the Back to Search Results button. This will take us back to all the plans that are listed out for your set of medications. Now here we saw that the WellCare value script, as we just looked into, had a retail cost of $145 for the year, and that includes drug plan premium and cost. Now, any drug plan past this point in the list is going to cost more than the drug plan that we have currently, if that is your drug plan. Not exactly the recommendation. So as we go down, the one thing we may want to look at is drug plans that may cost less for the course of the year. Here we see the SilverScript Smart RX is listed out, and it does show a lower retail cost than the WellCare plan. Now, a simple way to look at these plans and compare them, you can always hit the Add to Compare button, which is listed out here on the bottom of the plan details, and we can select the two plans that we're curious about and go ahead and hit the Compare button down here in the corner. Now, once we do that, it's going to give us the basics. What is the monthly premium? What is the star rating? What is the deductible? But that's really as much as it's going to give us. It will show us here what the cost is for the year, but we've seen that on the front page. If we want to know exactly the difference between these plans, we're going to have to actually go ahead and hit the Plan Details button and go further into detail on what the drugs cost. Now, as you remember from our first example, if we click the SilverScripts plan here, to get more details on what the drugs are going to cost, we can generically scroll all the way on down to where it says Estimated Drug Costs Shown During the Coverage Phases. Click our preferred pharmacy, and we're going to see the cost of the medications before, after the deductible, and during the donut hole if that is to affect you. Now, the one thing I want you to take a look at here is that we do see in this example Walgreens listed as an out-of-network pharmacy. And if for some reason the pharmacy that you use is shown as out-of-network, you may want to avoid that plan. As we can see here, if we select Walgreens and take a look in at the drug prices, rather than $1 for each drug, we're seeing $118 or $30 versus $1. So again, any drug plan pharmacy that is out of network, you may want to avoid that, and you'll be able to notate that when you come down here and click on the drug plan costs so that you can see what they cost at each pharmacy. Now, as for making a choice or making a switch within any of these plans, if we go back to the front page and back to our plan results, we will see that on the front there is a green Enroll button. This is how you enroll through Medicare.gov. That is an option, but it is not one that we recommend. If you choose to enroll here through Medicare.gov, you become your own broker in a sense, and you take care of your own drug plan. If you enroll here, we can unfortunately no longer help you with any drug plan issues. So we recommend that once you've taken a look at the different plans, and once you've determined which plan might be best for you, if not just staying in the current plan that you have, please feel free to contact us. And if there's a change that needs to be made, we'll be happy to make that for you so we can continue to represent you with any issues that you may have. So that's been a tutorial on how to use Medicare.gov and the basics. Some people may have more complex situations, and with any questions that you have, you may reach out to us and we'll help you walk through those. But this is the best resource for you to empower yourself to take a look at how your drug plan works, how your drugs are affected, and what the costs are in each one of these different plans. So thank you for hanging on through this video, and hopefully you guys happy drug plan finding.